Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family, I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the GlowCloud team.
Welcome, everyone. Hi, this is Michael Gibbs. I'm the founder and CEO of GoCloud Careers, and I'm here today to help you build your career. Maybe your goal is to become a cloud architect, or a solutions architect, or an enterprise architect, or a network architect. Or maybe, just maybe, you desire to be an engineer, like a cloud engineer, or a network engineer. Well, that's why we're here. I've been working as an architect now for well over 25 years. I've had the chance to be a lead enterprise architect at Cisco, a principal architect at Comcast, a principal architect at Riverstone, which is now Nokia, a lead architect at MCI WorldCom, which is now Verizon, And I have been teaching people how to build their technology careers, specifically architecture careers, for more than 2 decades. And I want to help you too. So that's why we're here. We're here once a week for you to ask your cloud computing questions to help you build your career. I can tell you right now, after working with people for decades, most people actually follow the wrong path and they spend years learning things. And they're good things, but they're not related to their career and people don't even realize it. And in the end, they may have spent 2 to 5 years, can't get to their goals, and then they need to be completely retrained. So I'm here right now so you know exactly what to learn for your career, because I've consulted with people and I've got people hired at Apple, AWS, Cisco, Microsoft, Google, Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Capgemini, JP Morgan Chase, PricewaterhouseCoopers, you name it. If it's an elite company, I've got people and trained them and they work there and they're doing really well. So that's why I'm here. Before we begin with answering your questions, which I definitely want to do, I want to let you know that Go Cloud Careers is celebrating the holiday season with 35% off all of our programs. And this even includes our Lead Architect program, which effectively has a 50% discount built right in by bundling things together. So this 35% is off everything. It makes our cloud architect training literally less than the cost of 2 days' pay for the average cloud architect. And I want to change your life, and I want to do it at the lowest cost we can, which is what we're doing right now. I'd also like to tell you that if you want to know how to become a cloud architect, you need to know what architect skills are. You can do cloud projects all day and write Python scripts all day and get on that console with AWS and Azure and Google, and at the end of the day, you won't know how to design a system. You won't know how to present it. You won't know how to lead, or you won't know how to manage the stakeholders, or any of those things that we architects actually do. We architects don't touch the technology. We design it, we present it, we sell it, we manage stakeholders, we negotiate deals, we present at conferences, but whatever the case is, download that completely free guide on how to become an architect, and it'll give you a list of every skill you need to know. And while we're at it, tomorrow, we have a completely free webinar on Zoom, and it's about how to get your first cloud architect job. You'll come, there'll be people joining you from all over the world, and me and my team will guide you with the skills of an elite architect, the things you need to learn, what hiring managers care about, and how to get hired when you have no experience. And I've got example after example after example of people whose first job was either a solution architect, a cloud architect, an enterprise architect, or even a senior solutions architect. It happens every day when you've got the right skills. So that's why we're here, to help you fast track your career. When it comes to building your career, realistically speaking, you have 2 options. Option 1 is to make mistakes and learn from your mistakes. The problem is mistakes cost you time, effort, and money. Option 2 is to find people that have already been there, that have already made it in your career, and have already progressed to the top levels of your career. And they can guide you on exactly what to do, so you don't have to make those mistakes that 95% or more of the people do. The choice is yours, but that's why I'm here. I dedicate 1 or 2 days a week, and the goal here is to optimize your careers. And if you join us tomorrow in the free webinar, we'll be on Zoom. And because it's on Zoom, you can ask any question you desire. I can interview you if you want to see if you're ready. I give you a little mini interview. You can ask questions, and it'll be a face-to-face conversation, the way I would want it if I was looking to build my career. So please bring me your questions, and then I can do to help you. Now, don't be shy. You know, it's without fail every single day. When we run these things, people wait till the last possible second to ask their questions, and then we run out of time. You know, right now, people do book one-on-one consultations with me. I got to tell you, even at $1,200 an hour, we're 24 weeks behind. But I'm here now, and I'm here free, and I'm going to get you to your goals. So please ask your questions so we can help. Tyrone, it looks like it's pretty slow, but I think I saw 1 or 2 questions here. Flying kites. I'm back. Mike, how stressful is the architect role compared to say, what you used to be as a network engineer? Flying kites, that's a great question. So I've got to tell you, I've been an engineer and I've been an architect. Engineering, in my mind, is about 10 times more stressful than architecture. And here's why. When you're an engineer and something breaks, you got everybody that's all kinds of frustrated for you to fix it. When you're an engineer and you need to make changes to the system, you know, you can't take a big business like a bank or a healthcare system down during the day to do repairs. You have to find the times where it's the slowest. So when I spent my time as an engineer, I was coming in at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning to make network upgrades, for example. And when those systems broke, I had people that were on top of me breathing down my neck, and it was stressful. Then I got my first architect job. And here's what happened. I went from working and staring at that keyboard all day long, getting stress headaches all day long, to being in a position where here was my job. Mike, I need you to go to the meeting and facilitate this meeting. I was like, okay. Mike, take this client to lunch. Okay. Give a presentation at this conference. Okay. Mike, I need you to write a thought leadership document. Okay. So see, the architect job was simple to me. Mike, I need you to go entertain this client. All right, Mike, take your clients to Morton's and get them drunk. Buy them some dinners and drinks and learn about what they want. Okay. Build a business council of CIO leaders, Mike. Okay. So to me, the architect job was a vacation. They paid me ultimately 2 to 3 times more throughout my architecture career than engineering. I had a fifth of the stress, maybe even less of that. It was like a nothing job by comparison. And people paid me to do something I loved. Go out there and meet people, help businesses, and help employees do better for their companies. I got to work with the largest internet service providers in the world and consult to them to make their systems better. I got to work with the largest banks in the world about how to optimize their voice and data net systems. I got to work with the most complicated healthcare organizations in the world, and I mean everywhere, whether it was the NHS in Scotland, whether it was in Australia, whether it was over the US, you name it, I worked with them, and being an architect was the best thing ever, ever. So I love architecture careers. I'm excited by them. Whether it's a business architect, a network architect, an enterprise architect, I've done them all, and I love them. Personally, I would never want to go back to engineering. Now, there are people that like engineering jobs, and that's fine. Some people like to be hands-on techies, and they want to touch that technology, and they want to be there. I have a friend, Moses, he's got a house that's so wired with tech because he loves it. This guy's been in engineering now for the last 25 years I've known him. And if there's a new piece of technology, he likes to play with it. And that's just fine. Now, if there's a new piece of technology for me, I think about how that piece of technology can assist my clients in achieving their goals. So it all depends on what you're focused on. But flying kites, I got to tell you, I much prefer working as an architect and wouldn't want to go back to anything else. I absolutely love it. So if you got questions, please ask them so we can assist you. And let's bring in the next question. James A. Dunn just signed up yesterday for the self-paced program. Excited, looking to transition as a career changer within 12 to 18 months. What is a good amount of time each week to set aside for the content? Well, James, let me give you my perspective. I am less concerned about the amount of time that you spend with something than the actual outcomes that you receive. And to me, that's really what we're actually talking about. So everybody learns at a different pace. James, quite frankly, I can read 1,000 pages in a day and remember 98% of it. I can do that. So the number of hours that I need might be different than someone else's. Likewise, my wife can do calculus in her head without even writing it down. She's like a human calculator. But if it's tech, it'll take her longer to learn. If it's math, she can learn it instantly. In fact, she learned Spanish in 10 days because her translators couldn't even understand her thoughts. But that was where she was. But with tech, it would take her longer. Where with tech, I'd learn it faster. But you try to give me calculus like my wife? No way. And it takes me about 6 months to be fluent in a language, not 10 days like my wife. So we're all there. So what I would say is on average, 10 to 20 hours a week will get you there. But your time and your mileage may vary based upon how quickly you learn. So James, here's what I want you to do when you go through this program. First, go through the lessons in order. And, I want you to watch every last class that we've done, and there's about 500-600 hours of them. And we add 3 new classes each week. And if you get stuck anywhere along the line, obviously use Slack, pop into one of the office hours sessions so we can make sure that you're not stuck, because I want you to do great, 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 great. And we're obviously excited to work with you. Every time someone joins us, I get excited because I see their future ahead of the time. So I'd say 10 to 20 hours. And, let me talk about how to be a good student. And you probably already know this, but I'm just saying this for anyone else that's here. When you go through the training, if you see a word you don't understand, go look it up. And do this throughout the training. Now, we've got some serious tech fundamentals for you, James. We've got some serious leadership skills for you there. We've got some serious sales skills. We've got a lot of architecture work for you to do. And we've got all these things, and you're even going to have fun building your own cloud. And even though architects don't touch the tech, I like building my own cloud because it shows knowledge. And if it's possible, James, to get involved in projects, please do so. Join that Slack community, and you're going to do great things. So, James, I'm excited you're here. I love it. When you get hired, please tell me when you change careers, because, for me, it's there. Now, I got to tell you, James, I didn't always work in tech. I didn't. I paid my way through college by being a firefighter paramedic. I became a nurse for about a whole month. Hated it. Became a nurse practitioner practicing internal medicine, which I actually liked. And then I switched to tech. And the key is I'm sure there's lessons, James, from your last career that you can take with them. And take it, go through the program and learn. And really work with people in that Slack community. There are people all over the world. I don't know where you live, but we've got massive groups that are in, say, Texas, and big ones in New Jersey and New York and Washington, D.C. Actually, lots of us are in Florida, too. We're kind of everywhere. Lots of people in England, obviously, lots of people in Australia, lots of people in India, lots of people in Asia, plenty of people in Central and South America, and a big group in Canada. So go out there and meet people, James, and tell me when you're hired. And if you get any questions, just reach out to the community on Slack, and we'll make sure that you are good. So go out there and do it. And I'm very excited you're here. So if you got some questions, please ask them. And while I wait, I want to make sure that we talk about something that's really important. Any of you can achieve any of your dreams. And what hurts most people from reaching their goals is they don't believe in themselves. I promise you can do it. I promise you. I'll give you some examples of people that wanted to become cloud architects that had an undying will to get there. I'm going to start with Daniel Boso, and I got to see him just the other day. He's kind of like one of the kids I wish I actually had. I don't have any children other than my cat, Cindy, but if I had a son, there'd be two students that I wanted to be like, and Daniel Boso is one of them. Daniel came to us, and he didn't graduate high school. He had wasted his time in a terrible boot camp, and he came to me and said, I can't get hired. Now, I interviewed Daniel, and what an impressive young man. But he didn't have any skills. And I told him within 6 months to a year, we'd be able to get him to his goals. Well, Daniel worked hard. 6 months later, the high school dropout got hired as a solution architect by JP Morgan Chase. And I say high school dropout, mind you, I'd love the guy to work for me. I think he's an asset to any business, and he's a highly educated person because he took it upon himself to get a great education. But the point is, not even a high school diploma working as a solution architect. I could tell you about Ivan Tamba, who's kind of the other person that I wish was my son. He came to me, he was 24 years old, working as a waiter. And we got him hired at AWS as a solution architect. Same as Jordan Kitco, same as Coyote. 2 college students we trained, first job as a solution architect. And then there's, say, Al Legister. I like Al. Al was selling tissues and other household items with Kimberly-Clark. He got his first job at Deloitte as a senior solution architect after we trained him. Or someone like Balwinder, who was a stay-at-home mom. Poof, after our training, a cloud solution architect at Microsoft. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. All of you can do anything, and I can give you example after example after example. I've got a tremendous number of cloud engineers that we retrained and made architects, software engineers that we retrained to be cloud architects. But kind of keep that in the back of your mind. All of you can do it. And if it's not architecture you want, it's fine too. You want to be an airplane pilot? Go to flight school. You can do it. Just believe in yourself. You want to be a physician? Trust me, you can do it. It's not going to be easy. You go to medical school and you can do it. All of you can do anything you desire as long as you believe in yourself, as long as you have the right plan and you get the right education. So go after your dreams and don't waste another minute of it. James, as a side note, you reviewed several programs out there and our content is superb by far. Thank you for your generosity to put such high quality training online at an extremely generous fee. James, thank you for noticing that. I actually have a well over $300,000 education to be able to do what I do. And see, here's the thing, James. I grew up very poor. In fact, I worked 2.5 full-time jobs while I was in college. I don't think I slept the entire time just to pay my tuition. And it doesn't sound like much. My tuition was $7,800, but per year, and that was back in like around 1990. And $7,800 then was like $25,000 a year. So I had to work really hard for that. And they were medical books, so they were even more expensive. I was even married at the time. It was pretty lucky. I met the best girl in the world while I was in college. And I know what it is to do that. And I know what it is to take student loans and $100,000 of loans here and there just to get to your goal. So what I really wanted to do was try to create a program that I knew would help people get these elite $200,000 to $300,000 and $400,000 jobs. And yes, I've had people take our program, the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, and get $400,000 jobs. And I wanted to do it at a price that was something everybody can afford. So James, thank you so much for noticing. Thank you for noticing what we're putting together and why we're doing it. I had a best architecture career you can imagine. I was able to retire in my 30s. And then I just went out there and started helping people build careers. And I love doing it, and I love when they get hired. So thank you so much. Number 2, Mike, who are the people that teach classes in your program? Number 2, there are a lot of us. I would say that I teach probably 50 or more % of the classes in this program because I love to teach. It's not what your CEO should be doing, but I just love teaching and I love working with our clients. And I've been an architect for 25 years. We have an enterprise architect named Angelo who teaches in our program. He is fantastic. At one point, he was a chief technology officer and an application architect. We have Lohit, who works for AWS, who periodically teaches in our program. He's an application architect over there. We have Mark, who teaches in our program as well. Mark is a CCIE network architect with an extremely good experience. Sometimes we have Imran teach in our program too, and he's a dual Cisco certified internet expert that works with me at Cisco. He's phenomenal. Now we have Dr. Cooper and Dr. Long, who are actually at the University of Tennessee at Martin teaching in the MBA program, and they come and they actually work with our students to help teach them business acumen. Now we have a wide variety of other architects that also come to our classes as well, and other professionals that also pop in. But all in all, we've got a big team, and we bring people in from the application side. We bring people in from the big data side, like Praveen, who periodically teaches about how to design big data, and he was a big data architect. We bring network architects in because if you don't understand the network, guess what? You don't understand anything about the cloud. No network, no cloud, it's all dead. And then we bring in those application architects to be there. And we have a very heavy bias towards enterprise architecture. And the reason we have so many enterprise architects and we're biased towards enterprise architecture is as follows. Number 2, what if I told you that over 50% of all cloud architectures are complete and total failures? What is an architecture failure? An architecture failure is when a company spends $1 billion on technology and it doesn't do anything for their business. 54%, I think, was the latest dose of cloud projects that are disasters, meaning they hurt the people that actually used them. They left their data center, went to the cloud, and the business failed, or the business got damaged. And because we use enterprise architecture as a framework, and because we always start with our customer's vision for the business, and then we constantly go into the business architecture, and then we think about the technology, and we help coordinate governance strategies and change management approaches, our students always do well. Because of that, our students know digital transformation and keep that in the back of your mind. So kind of keep that in your back of your mind. That's approximately the people. But I also have multiple MBAs like Alonzo Coleman, who's a marketing executive, who's my chief marketing officer. He does a lot of work with our students on how to improve their LinkedIn profile and their resume to get employers to come to you so you don't actually have to go out there by helping people build their brand. My chief operating officer, Chris, gets heavily involved because he's got a big corporate leadership and HR background. And when we do interview things and a lot of preparation, he gets involved as well. So it's a big team. It's basically a cross between a business school and a technical development program, and that's how we get our students the highest salaries. And number 2, why such a big focus on business acumen? Well, without the right business acumen, nobody's getting hired as an architect. But the average salary of someone with strong business acumen, if you look at salary.com, is $558,000 per year. So by adding more business acumen and more emotional intelligence training and more leadership training and more sales training and more executive presence training, we're able to get our clients really big salaries. And also those are the skills that get people promoted and paid more throughout their career. So that's about the people that are training in our program. And I love the question, number 2. James Dunn, basic question. But does it matter if we use Mac OS or Windows for our program? Not at all. You know that coding is not a focus, but a checklist in general. James, don't learn coding. We have nothing to do with coding. The cloud is somebody else's network and a data center. And we're designing solutions that are network and data center solutions. But what kind of computer should you use? What do you like? I mean, there will be some labs where you're going to say build your own cloud, but they're going to be on our servers and our data center. And all you're going to need is the ability to install the Cisco VPN, which our team will help you with. And then from there, you're going to need to basically either web browser or secure shell into the systems that you build through the VPN network into our data center. So it doesn't matter which you use. Personally, I use a Mac. I use a Mac because I used to be a Unix user. And I know how to use the Mac. But Windows is great. And quite frankly, a Chromebook would work as well. For us, the operating system doesn't matter. And the reason it doesn't matter is as following. It doesn't matter because all the work's being done somewhere else and all you're doing is remotely accessing it. So use whatever you like. I personally recommend the Mac. I love the Mac. You don't need to spend the money on a Mac. You can use a Windows machine. But I know how to use a Mac. I get there. It's happy. I've got a little picture of a lion on my screen, which makes me smile every time I see it. On the Windows machine, there's constant upgrades and constant reboots. It's not a bad thing. But for me and me personally, I like Windows. But use any operating system that works. Buy any computer that fits in your budget. All the hardcore work is going to be done in our data center. Great questions. After passing through our Cloud Architect Bootcamp, will my age negatively affect me in your job search as a new immigrant in Canada, remote jobs? Say yes. CE, your age doesn't matter. Now, CE, I'll tell you, it is much easier for me to get a 50-year-old a Cloud Architect job than it is a 35-year-old. And here's the reason why. And I got 20-year-olds hired, and I've gotten 63-year-old people hired. 61-year-old Sig Wolf, 63-year-old Sig Wolf was recently hired in Germany. 61-year-old Robert Welch got a great Cloud Architect job too. None of it matters. What matters is your ability to do the job. What matters is your knowledge, because it's hard to find someone. And see, let me tell you what employers really care about. They care about, do you have the competency to do the job? And this is 20 years of research asking thousands of employers. Do you have the competency to do the job? The next thing they care about is, can you communicate well? Because if you can't, you're going to cause conflicts, you'll get bad information, and every architecture will be bad. The next thing they care about is, can they trust you? So when you don't lie on your resume, and when you go in that interview, just be open and honest and don't lie. And we'll teach you how to answer questions in our program that you don't know. Next, what do employers want? They want energy, enthusiasm, and passion. Now, I got to tell you, it's really hard right now to find energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate people. And when you find them, you don't even let them leave your interview room. Sometimes you give them an offer on the spot. And I've been offered jobs on the spot from nearly every job I ever applied for, including my first tech job. Next, what do they care about? They're looking about your emotional intelligence. And if you're 53, you probably have had a chance to develop your emotional intelligence. And they want emotional intelligence because here's the thing, CE. I don't care how good you are. I care that you're good enough. But I care more what's going to happen with the rest of your team. For example, if I've got one person on my team that raises the energy of everybody else by 15%, I've got 10 people on my team. By hiring someone that does nothing, my team's output is up 1.5 people. So if I have a good architect that's competent and capable, let's say they're 100% or 90% of what I want them to be, but they can make the rest of the team do more, that person is an extraordinary value add for their emotional intelligence. Now, the next thing that I'm really looking for when I hire, and I don't care about experience, I don't care age, I care about the following things, as do most employers. I care about your ability to work in a team and work with people that are different than you. Because let's face it, there's about 7-8 billion people in the world, and a really good team is going to have people from all over the world. It's going to have to, because if you're hiring the best and the brightest, which an organization should be, you're going to have a very diverse skill set. So you want to know you can work with other people. Now, the last thing CE people actually care about is, are you willing to go above and beyond? If it's 4:45 in the afternoon and a big opportunity comes in, do you say, I got to go? Or do you say whatever it takes to win? You can be those things that the employer wants. You can get any job you want at any time with any experience level whatsoever. So you're going to do great on our program. And I'd love to work with you. Alonzo! Okay, so that's Alonzo for my team. He's the chief marketing officer. I think Alonzo's coming to you from Jamaica right now.
Not just yet. We're on the it depends on what you and Chris argue about, but I am on your side of Florida right now.
You're on my side of Florida. Oh my God, we need to go figure this thing out. That sounds fun. Have you checked out the beaches?
To do.
Check out those beaches and let me know where you're at. I can recommend a good place for you.
Fort Lauderdale, but we are going to the homeland of Bammy and festivals tomorrow morning.
Okay, well tonight you got to get to Taverna Opa. I'll give you the directions. You're going to love that.
Give it to me, Mike.
Mike and I have. Unless you want Ethiopian, I can put to a good place there too.
I got tons of things that I want to try because Mike and I we've got so many parallels. When I first met him, and the more we talked, the more we had in common, and it was just scary.
It really is. So ask your questions. Alonzo and I are literally like identical twins when you talk to us. We drive the rest of our team crazy because we're the same. I mean, you couldn't believe it. So Alonzo, I'm thrilled you're here.
It's a pleasure, Mike. Thank you so much. I am always excited. I don't care where I am in the world. I always have to take time to share the value of Go Cloud Careers and what we offer here and how it can transform your life. It has done it for countless students. It has even done it for myself. I originally am from the communications, marketing, and project and program management arena. I had end of life with that career. I wanted to try something new, didn't know what it was. Found cloud architecture, cloud computing, met Mike via the YouTube videos like so many others. He demystified and broke everything down into commonsensical things that make sense. I mean, because if you looked at any of the white papers that anyone has undoubtedly tried to read with AWS, Azure, or whatever, there's no real zero entry point to you understanding the tech. Once I met Mike, he really broke them down. Those concepts really made sense. And I'm able to not only understand them and became a cloud architect, but I was able to communicate those to other folks as well. C-suite, CFOs, CEOs, distinguished engineers, and so forth. Because what we do is we present the technology and those architectural benefits, and then we actually sell them. So we design it, we present it, and we sell it. And we move on to other opportunities. But even though we go to different projects, we're still maintaining those relationships, strengthening those relationships, and maybe life happens. We may even have to repair that relationship. Maybe the delivery didn't go as planned. Maybe somewhere along the line, there was a miscommunication. My job is to go there, find out, and maybe even get on a plane to do this personally, to say, I don't understand what happened. I own it. It's my fault. I will do whatever it takes to make this and repair this relationship, provide solutions for you so that we can continue to provide and give you the things you need to make your business successful. So when it comes to cloud architecture, it's also about the business and the tech side as well. Learning how to communicate and share this information is pivotal to success.
So thrilled you're here. Let's go to the next one. John O. You discovered you have more interest in security architecture. Great. We train a lot of security architects. If I have decided you'll get your CISSP first quarter 2024, that's a great certification. It's pretty easy to do. I say it'll take about 2 to 3 months of studying in our program to pass that. And then we'll teach you so much more after that about how to be a security architect. Yes, we definitely do the resume and linked optimization for security architects. Of course. Now, projects. John, we have to be very careful about projects. Most people do the wrong projects for an architect. So first, I want you to download the completely free guide on how to get your first architect job, and also come to the free webinar tomorrow. My team will pop the links for those below. Now, I want to talk about what is an architect project versus what is an engineering project. A cloud engineering project is configuring a firewall or setting up Active Directory for IAM. That has nothing to do with what we architects do in our life. So what happens is, people go and they do all these projects, and then nobody's interested in them because they did the wrong projects. Now, what is a security architect project? Designing the demilitarized zone for, say, a secure web app, A security project is designing the security architecture for the entire organization. A security architecture project is determining an end-to-end encryption strategy for an organization based on what kind of needs. A security architecture process is developing a data loss prevention strategy for the organization. A security architect project would be looking at all the events that come in, the syslog files on the Unix servers, the syslog files from the routers and switches, the log files from the firewalls, the log files from your virtual machines, the log files from your, whether it be NetFlow or VPC flow logs in AWS, and being able to correlate that with something related to SIEM. Determining what is the security policy that the organization needs as an architecture project. Determining what kind of training the employees need, say against anti-phishing, anti-malware campaigns. So there's that. So these are the kind of things we're talking about as a security architect. And of course, our students do these projects. Now, if you told me we're going to play with Kali Linux, that's a security engineer skill, and it will not help you as an architect. If you were going to tell me, hey, I'm going to go to the Cisco firewall and configure it, that is not going to teach you architecture. Architecture is the design of the system. And John, so many people make that mistake, and here's why it's so critical. I want you to understand that the people that design airplanes and rocket ships are not airplane pilots. That's hands-on experience flying a plane, which is different than hands-on experience designing. Now, let's say you want to go to Dubai and you want to stay at the Burj Al Arab. I got to tell you, it's a great place. I've stayed there, loved it. The person that actually built the building is not the person that designed it. That's an architect. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So yes, we will have all the security projects. We have extraordinary security in every architecture we do. And so many of our people go out there and just take security architect jobs from the security elements of our training, because to be fair, I had a lot of security architecture work that I did at Cisco and other companies, and no architecture works without security. And we're not going to be using the cloud provider security stuff that I teach in, like say, in AWS Advanced Security. That doesn't scratch the surface of security, but you will be great as long as you learn security. And John O, you're there. Now, I also know a John O in England who's a really great guy. He has a strong networking background. I wonder if that's you in some way, shape, or form. But by the way, you're a bona fide student. You love being part of the community and look forward to the projects in 2024. We're thrilled to work with you too, John O. So wonderful. I knew that name seemed pretty familiar to me. Of course, you could be another John O too.
Okay, from Lopez, I'm aiming to become a solution architect for Microsoft. Is it realistic to be ready and interview in 6 months?
It depends on how fast you learn, Lopez. No, Lopez, you're not in the live program. You're in the non-live program, from what I can recall. So it's going to be harder for you to get there, and it's going to take more time because you won't be participating in those actual live classes. You'll be watching others do it. But you've got some experience in your tech career, and I would say 6 to 12 months is reasonable. And if you've got the ability to really focus all your time, effort, and everything into it, yeah, I think it's totally reasonable. But I don't think you can limit yourself to just Microsoft. Don't get me wrong, I love Microsoft. And I think Microsoft is one of the best places to work in the entire world, along with Cisco and along with IBM. Microsoft is a great organization. Extraordinary experience in the enterprise, extraordinary experience in digital transformation, and their earnings are so good, which means they have the way to pay you. To put it into context, Microsoft's earnings, meaning net income, are between 30 and 40 times greater than Amazon's. And that's including all 1.5 million people that work at Amazon, from their cloud to their retail stores to their shipping to every other business they have. Microsoft earns $30 to $40 billion. Last year's earnings were greater than Amazon. So put that into context. So Microsoft is a good one. But, I wouldn't rule out Google to work for. I wouldn't rule out an Amazon. I wouldn't rule out an IBM. I wouldn't rule out an HP. I wouldn't rule out any other companies. And quite frankly, I would consider Deloitte, Accenture, KPMG, Capgemini. They're also really good companies. And Lopez, working in banks can also pay an incredible amount. And, I remember one year where the average bonus at Goldman Sachs for the average employee was $600,000, just the bonus. So I love Microsoft. It is one of my 5 favorite companies in the entire world. But I try to build the skills for me, and I try and focus on what I can do for me and my family. And I take the company that I join as secondary. And then once I join that company and they start paying me, now that company's my family and I owe them everything just like I owe my family.
Cloud Station. How can a newbie learn the required soft skills which are critical to landing the role?
Cloud Station, what a great idea. And I'm going to have Alonzo answer this after I also answer it. I'll tell you, you could do what I did. Now, I got a lot of soft skills by learning how to practice internal medicine. And in that career, it's absolutely critical to learn how to ask people the right questions, be non-judgmental, be open-minded. But then to be fair, Cloud Station, I also read 3,000 books, and at least 1,000 of them were also on soft skills. I then took approximately $100,000 of soft skills training, which thankfully my employers paid for. And they were in things like presentations training, communication training, difficult conversations training. They were things related to CXO relevancy and sales training. So there's that. Now you could take our course, which is going to cover all the soft skills that you actually need and train you for the actual job at the same time. And it'll cost a whole lot less to do that than it will to take any of the courses that I would actually tell you to. But kind of keep that in the back of your mind that you're going to be in good shape. How about you add to this, Alonzo?
Yeah, Cloud Station. A newbie, there's a lot just being a newbie. I mean, quite honestly, even if you are not, you're a newbie in the industry, that doesn't mean your ability to be a competent cloud architect has nothing to do with the duration of you being in that industry, but your ability to do the job. So with that, like you said, soft skills, you can do anything you want. Some of the things that helped me is that we've got introverts, we've got those who may not be able to articulate as efficiently as they'd like. One of the main things that you can do is get in front of a mirror, talk about a subject you do very well, or you can get on your phone or maybe a Zoom call or whatever and start recording how you interact with yourself, because how you look at yourself is how others view you as well. Look at your nonverbals. Look at if you're saying or verbalizing any ums or any awkward pauses. Think about how you are communicating. Is it long and drawn out, or are you getting to the point and helping people to understand what you're trying to convey? These are just some of the factors and some of the things that I and Mike and Chris and our team communicate and share in our soft skills class. So when it comes to that, it's very critical. So look at it this way. Cloud architects, we design, we present, and sell. What are we selling? Multi-million-dollar solutions. So it's critical to sharing what you need, what that company needs to know as quickly, as detailed as possible, much like an executive summary. Talk about and that requires eliminating a lot of the extra stuff. You know, you got to recon who you're speaking with, what their interests are, what they're trying to accomplish for the organization, so that you're able to hit those particular points they're interested in. Talk about the solution, talk about what it can do, talk about what's going to happen if you don't execute it, and then talk about all of the returns on investment over time, how it's going to meet some KPIs, key performance indicators on a short and long term. So you got to be able to say this by relating to your audience. Like CEOs, Mike, CEOs don't care about tech. They might not even understand how the stuff works, to be honest. But what their job is to steer that large company into success, prosperity, and things that stakeholders are looking for, that they've invested their money in to ensure this company is right. So Cloud Station, those soft skills are critical to be able to communicate, meet the needs of your customer, tell your story, tell the story of how this solution is going to make their dreams happen or their goals realized. And you're going to be in a great space, because as you matriculate up into these cloud architect positions, it's less about the tech and more about the business.
Exactly.
John O again. Mike, how would you describe the job market this year, and what should we expect in 2024, especially in UK and Europe?
Okay, John, I think the job market is still relatively strong right now. And I want to separate engineering versus architecture job markets. I see a lot more architecture jobs. As AI comes out, there's new architecture opportunities. It's a disruptive technology that can impact business performance. AI architecture is cloud architecture. Network architecture, organizations are starting to realize that the cloud costs too much. Like we told people years ago, we still love the cloud and we still recommend the cloud. But years ago, we told you that many people would go back to the data center and build private clouds, like OpenStack clouds and Nutanix clouds. And we started teaching that years ago. And we're now in the phase of cloud repatriation, where people realize they went to the cloud, it cost them 2 to 3 times more than they were paying in the data center. And they're taking, we've been training people hybrid and multi-cloud forever. Why? Because the data center has better power and performance than the cloud. The data center is cheaper than the cloud, but the data center requires a lot of complexity. Not that the cloud doesn't, but the cloud provides an agility, and business agility is worth so much. The cloud also provides near unlimited scalability. Now, you combine a data center and 1 or 2 cloud providers, and now you've got magic. Now you've got the ability to run your highest performance workloads at the lowest cost in your data center, and you can use the cloud for what it does. That agility to get capacity on demand, the agility to deploy new applications quicker so you can focus on your business. So the cloud architecture world is great. Now, the engineering world should be fearful, because a lot of the things that a cloud admin or a cloud engineer would do, like writing a Python script or a Terraform script, for example, or a Bash shell script or a Windows PowerShell script, I can use AI to do that right now. So what I see most smart companies doing is reducing their weaker engineers and keeping their super strong engineers and supercharging their abilities with AI. But as more technologies come out there, there are many, 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 many more jobs for architects. So what's bad for engineering is great for architects. Now, John O., you do have one risk factor in Europe, and it's salary. But that risk factor is not exclusive to cloud architectures or any tech job. It's a risk factor for everyone. Parts of Europe are trying to explore the 4-day work week. And I want to tell you what the impact of that is. I don't have a feeling whether a 4-day work week is a good thing or a bad thing. But I'll tell you, a company only has a finite number of resources or what it can pay. And if the company goes from a 5-day work week to a 4-day work week, to get the same job done, they're going to have to hire 20% more employees. Now, an employee's cost is not just their salary. There's their insurance, their vacation time. So what'll happen is, if Europe goes the way of the 4-day work week, I expect a 30% pay reduction for all of the employees in Europe. But, I don't think it's the move to the 4-day work week in Europe is as strong as it used to be. So I don't think you have to worry about it. But the job market for architects is unbelievable. It's growing. And I've gotten so many people in Europe and UK incredibly good architecture careers. So I think it's a great time to be an architect, John. I think that this key differentiator is those soft skills, that business acumen, that leadership, that executive presence. That's the thing. Keep that in the back of your mind, and you're going to be in good shape.
From Michael, one question I have is getting clients. How do you find clients? Is it purely networking on your own, or is there some sort of business unit within companies that gather gather leads for you, client leads for you?
So, Michael, I don't really understand your question. Are you asking how I would get a client if I worked for Cisco, IBM, Microsoft? Or are you asking if you wanted to start your own business in a private architecture contest, what you would do? Now, if you work for a company like Accenture, Deloitte, KPMG, Capgemini, we will have internal sales reps that basically schedule meetings for you. Or you'll be assigned a client like I was assigned, say, Bank of America. Merrill Lynch was a client of mine. So I would just work with that client, and I'd constantly go to that client, and I would constantly look for challenges they had and come up with solutions for them. In fact, I actually had a desk at my client when they were Merrill Lynch. I used to go there every day. Sure, there were team members that would go to the office and babble about the office and drink things around the water cooler and complain about life. But I went to my client's site every day, because first it was 5 miles away versus the office being 40 miles away. And I wanted to find the solutions to help my clients actually success it. So they're there. But if you work for a company, they'll have inside salespeople that are going to be dialing for dollars, so to speak. They're going to be calling and arranging for you to places to go. Unless you're in a really senior role, and like I was, where you're going to only have one client You could be working on the architectures for 6 months to a year at a time. Now, for people that are out there that think they're going to start their own business as an architect, I encourage them to think again. The average salary of a cloud architect right now is $237,000 a year. You can easily, after a couple of years, if you've got good business acumen, leadership, executive presence, earn $500,000 a year as an architect. So most people try to work for themselves and get contracts. And here's the thing. It's easy for me, Michael, to be able to work for myself because here's the reason. I've consulted to hundreds, if not thousands of organizations through the year. So in my phone, I've got so many CEOs, CIOs, and CTOs that I can call and say, hey, Mike Gibbs, you working on anything that's a challenge? Yeah. Do you need help? Oh, yeah, I do. And I could find that. But for people to start their own business as an architect, they're going to need many, 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 many millions of dollars in the bank because they're going to have to build an architect team. Because every good architecture isn't just a cloud architect. It's a cloud architect, an IAM architect, a security architect, a network architect, a big data architect, an AI architect, all working together. And also, Michael, architects don't build. So you're going to start an architecture consulting firm. You're going to also have to hire the techies that are going to go build your designs. And, if you were trying to start your own business as an architect, I want you to think about this. How much money can Amazon spend compared to what you can spend to get a client? How much money can Microsoft spend that earned, close to $80 billion a year net income last year? How much can Accenture spend to knock you out of the competition? And when it comes to architectures, I'll use Alonzo as a client. Hi, Alonzo. It's Billy Bob's business. I got an architecture for you. Yeah, thanks, Mike. Alonzo, it's Mike Gibbs from Cisco. Can we talk? He wants to hear me. So I don't recommend architects starting their own business. There's a joke in the business owners world that you can work any 12 to 16 hours a day you want, 7 days a week in your own business, because that's the reality. And but getting a cloud architect job, getting well paid for it, there's more opportunities that you can think of, and you won't have any trouble finding clients. There's going to be someone in there that's going to book you and schedule them for you. And you're going to be more realistically saying, look, I don't have time for this one. I can do this one and this one, or this one and this one. Choose which are more strategic to the organization. They'll be bombarding you with your time.
For Mark, how you doing, Mark? It's always good to see you. Question, Mike. What would you say is the benefit of joining the Enterprise Architect Career Training compared to just AWS, Azure Solutions Architect, or other training vendor certification training?
Okay, well, Mark, let's say you did the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. You will know zero about architecture. That's right, absolutely zero. And here's the reason why. The AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional will teach you about all these proprietary things that AWS makes and how to configure them. But Mark, architects don't configure. And if I tried to use these proprietary names with my client, they'd escort me out the room and laugh at me, and I'd be fired, and my replacement would thank me for the good high-paying job. So the vendor training is basically, I like to call it cloud admin training. Here's the name of something, and here's how to configure it. Now, if you truly join our training, which is biased towards enterprise architecture, whether it's our enterprise architect program or our cloud architect program, what we're talking about is what architects do, which is digital transformation. The whole job of the architect is to find a way to actually help our clients be more successful. So we're engineers focused on tech, which is exactly what's taught in the certification training. We're focused on business transformation. So the problem, and the reason I created this program, is I interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people, and I'd say a lot of them had to pass the Certified Solution Architect Professional. I asked them simple things. How would you design a demilitarized zone for this? How would you load share across multiple links? What kind of WAN technology do you need to make your cloud work? I even asked them, what is cloud computing? And I couldn't get a single answer of a yes that knew anything from the AWS certified people. So the reality is, I like to consider those vendor brainwashing things as, here, use my stuff. It's really cool. Use my stuff, use my stuff, use my stuff, use my stuff. No, we're not going to tell you what the stuff is. We're not going to tell you how the stuff works, but believe me, it's exciting. Go use it. So, there's that. By comparison, we teach people how to be an architect. From the time they walk into that client, to the time they ask the client about the goals for the vision for the business, to the time we teach our students how to map out all the business processes that actually occur, to the way we teach our students how to ask the right questions about the technology, to baseline the organization's current systems, to design new technology systems to help that business achieve its goals and the vision for the business in the future. We teach our students how to sell those architectures, negotiate that architectures, and of course, how to design those architectures. We teach the underlying technology to help people design it. And we also teach hybrid cloud and multi-cloud. And let's face it, 98% of organizations are multi-cloud. And if a person just takes an AWS certification, they're going to be so excited by things like a ECS, Elastic Compute Service, or DynamoDB, or Amazon Aurora, which you can't use any in the multi-cloud environment. All that stuff, useless. Because if you're going to have two clouds, you can put MongoDB in two clouds or Apache Cassandra in two clouds, but you can't use Google Cloud Bigtable and try to make that thing work with this AWS DynamoDB. So you just get rid of half of that stuff that's in your certification and you choose open standards. So maybe use the Oracle database, which is, there's a reason it's the #1 business database in the world. Scalability, performance. And you can put that Oracle database in your data center, AWS, and Azure. And we teach that. So for us, we're teaching the skills how to get hired. Others are teaching the skills on how to pass a certification. Now, Mark, and I know you know me, I've had to retrain people from everybody else's program. I've had to retrain people that have spent $9,000 and $10,000 on boot camps to pass a certification. And Mark, it's really funny. When I got my first big, major enterprise architect job, my manager said to me, Mike, can you get rid of those certifications that are on your business card? He says, I don't want that. I don't want to see that CCIE. I don't want to see that CISSP. I want to see Mike Gibbs MBA or Mike Gibbs period. I want to get rid of all that stuff. I don't want anybody confusing you with a techie. I want to see you as an elite architect, as an executive, as a digital transformation expert. And you know what they did? They had me build a business council of CEOs and CIOs and CTOs and listen to what they said so we could figure out how to better create new products and solutions for our clients. They had me presenting at conferences. They had me writing and being on what's called Sales Engineer TV, where I was actually training the sales engineers in architecture when I worked at Cisco. They had me designing systems for healthcare organizations and speaking to the CEOs of these organizations. And, it was the best job ever. So, there's two ways you can career. You can be a little techie. And if you like being a techie, that's fine, but understand the techies don't earn much. Or you can be an executive architect that can set yourself up for a $500,000 job years later. That's our focus. Getting people the skills to build a real career, an elite career, a high-paying career where they can actually transform businesses. Good question, Mark.
From CCNA, what professional certification would you recommend getting your first cloud architect job?
So CCNAC, I want to first separate certification with cloud architecture. I can tell you that right now, if you got every certification from AWS, every certification from Azure, and every certification from Google, you will not be prepared to be an architect. Now, you'd be sure good at engineering, possibly coding, and possibly maintenance, but it's not going to teach you architecture. So I need you to learn architecture. Because I have people like Delroy Batt that get cloud architect jobs with 0 certifications that were a student of mine, even though he never had any work experience. And I get people that come to me with 30 certifications that we have to take off of their resume because it sets the wrong impression. So the first thing I want you to do is come tomorrow for the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job. And then download the completely free guide on how to get your first cloud architect job. Remember, a certification is the name of the service and how to configure that service. Architects don't configure anything. Architects don't build anything. Architects don't implement. So I want you to know what an architect is. An architect is a business executive that, at the same time, designs systems. It was Gartner went out there and asked basically the chief information officers of businesses, what do you want in an architect? And they said, I would like someone that can lead the cultural change in cloud adoption and develop and coordinate a cloud architecture and help promote the assistance of the adoption of it. Find talent with the necessary skills, assess application software and hardware. But that's the key. We're not touching the technology. And that's where most people go wrong. And it saddens me. I've got people that come to me and it's there. So let's talk about certifications and what they do. The CCIE, the Cisco Certified Internet Expert, in my mind is an intro to networking. And why do I say that? I passed the CCIE within 6 months of the time I started my networking career. And after the CCIE, it was like, Mike, I need you to work with this bank. Mike, I need you to work with this internet service provider. And that's when I really started to learn something. And then after being a CCIE for a couple of years, and my CCIE number is 7417, back when it was this miserable two-day exam, now it's only a one-day exam. But even those days, my management asked me to take it off. So I want you to understand the architect is an executive job. It's not based on certifications. It's based on system design knowledge. It's based on digital transformation knowledge. It's based upon your ability to sell, your ability to exercise influence, the ability to lead. Keep those kind of things in the back of your mind. So no certification, but now CCNAC, if you actually got architect certification, which is going to teach you how to do the job, now we can still use the certifications, and here's what they're going to do. A certification will help you get an interview, but it won't help you win the interview. So we recommend 2 to 3 certifications based upon your goals are. And if you want to be a generic cloud architect, I like either the AWS Solutions Architect Professional or the Azure Solutions Architect Expert. I'll tell you, the Azure training is a little better, more geared towards architecture than the AWS one, which is more geared towards admin work. But it doesn't matter, just one of those two. Employers know they don't count, but they're willing to interview for the firm. Now, I do like the TOGAF certification. Why? Because TOGAF is a methodology for architects that already know how to be architects to do their jobs. Now, TOGAF also doesn't teach architecture, but it will take an experienced architect like me and say, you know, Mike, make sure you start with the architecture vision. When you're done with the architecture vision, make sure you go down the business architecture path. When you're done with that, make sure you assess the way the business is running now. Make sure you figure out how you want the business to run in the future. What does the technology and the data look like now? What do you want it to be? Then it talks about, you know, who could implement it and creations of your statements of work and architecture contracts. So I would say 1 cloud certification and a TOGAF certification is good. And then if we want to figure out, you know, what you need, what the rest of it, what is a cloud? It's only somebody else's data center that's been virtualized and outsourced to you, kind of like renting a room in a hotel versus buying a house. So the network and the data center is there. So here's where I actually think a technical certification works. The hardest part of a cloud architecture is the network. Now, the CCNP, it sort of has some of the information you actually need, but it does look pretty good. So I would say, you know, the real networking that an architect needs is somewhere between the CCIE and the CCNA. And it sounds like a weird place to say, and it's not the CCNP, and here's what I mean. You know, there's some things that are covered in the CCNA, things like spanning tree, that's fine, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking. But then we also need really good WAN optimization knowledge, which is not covered in the CCNA. Things like, when do I use a VPN versus a private line versus a software-defined networking WAN versus a SASE WAN? How do I manipulate and influence and traffic engineer my traffic with BGP, for example? So I'd say the networking thing. So a CCNP is also a good certification, but any more than 3 certifications, I won't even interview the person because I know they're focused on certifications, which is not what we do, and not focused on learning how to become a great architect.
From Lopez, how much travel do you have to do as a cloud architect? Does it depend on the company?
So Lopez, it depends on how much travel you have to do. It depends on the company itself and your client and how big they are. So here's the thing to remember. As an architect, we've got to go work with stakeholders. So it depends where they might be. So for example, in 1 year as an architect, I traveled over 200,000 miles. But that was because I lived in Florida. Now, if I lived in New York City, where I still have a house right outside of New York City, and my client was in New York City, I had enough clients that I could work with inside of New York City. But I wanted to live in Palm Beach in my vacation home. So I lived in my vacation home and flew to New York City each week, or like once a week or once every other week. So you can imagine the traveling. Now, at the same time, I would be delivering executive briefings in San Jose. I'd be consulting in clients in Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, the Middle East, all over Europe. And sometimes I even got to say Lopez at my house in Greece, which I really like doing because I get to eat my Greek food. I get to see my friends, families, and relatives, but I don't get there that often. But, you know, it's that. So it all depends. Thankfully, Lopez, today's world is not the way it used to be. We've got extremely good video conferencing that's out there. So I would say 20 to 30% travel is a reasonable thing based upon where you're at and depending upon the actual client. And for example, if I remember, Lopez, you said you were in Mexico based upon a previous exchange. I don't know where you're at, but let's say you're in Mexico City. You might be in Mexico City today. You could be in Panama City, Panama after a couple of weeks later. You could be in Miami, Florida for a month, depending upon where your client is. And who knows, you can be in Brazil or you could be in Argentina or something like that as well. So you will be dealing with clients in a global manner. When you start out, you typically get involved in something that's more local to you. And as you progress and your skill set gets better, now you're in a position where there's only one Lopez. And the way these companies work is there's a lot of us to become subject matter experts. And you're the one guy or girl or whoever the person is that's out there that can do it. So, hey, Mike, I need you to go to San Jose. Stop in England on your way to Dubai, give a presentation in England, go to Dubai. You know, while you're in Dubai, Mike, it's not that far from Hong Kong. And if you present in Hong Kong, I need you to go to Brisbane, Australia. And then when you're done in Brisbane, go to Sydney while you're over that. And while you're at it, Mike, go back to England and then go back home. And that was what I did years ago. But now, 20 to 30%. And Lopez, it's the best job in the world. I can't wait till you get one. You're going to be so excited. This is a really great career.
Okay, John O., which certification combination would you advise? A TOGAF and CISSP or both plus AWS CSAP?
So if I wanted to be a security person, I would probably get the CISSP in addition to your cloud certification. I love TOGAF, but TOGAF is more geared towards how do you improve an organization's business performance. Security architecture has nothing to do with an organization's business performance. It has to do with keeping them locked down and safe from threats. So understand this. If you focus on security, and I love security, and it's a good place to focus, and we train on them, please know that you will earn far less than if you focus on digital transformation and business improvement. The closer you get to the technology, John, the less you will earn. The closer you get to the business impact, the better you'll be there. So I would say the CISSP and the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional to be a security architect. Now, by comparison, you want to go out there and you want to be an enterprise architect and really focus on digital transformation, then I would say get the TOGAF and the Certified Solutions Architect Professional. But it's about making your certifications look much more closely related to the actual job that you want to do. You keep doing that, you're going to do wonderfully. And I want you to have the greatest career ever. Good question, Jono.
From Algonquin. Hey, Al. How you doing, Polar Bear? Hey, Mike. I had missed class, did not get a chance to speak with you. What study books do you recommend I use to go along with Cloud Go Cloud Careers for a CCNP certification?
Algonquin, the Cisco Press books that are written by Cisco that say CCNP on them. There's a list that they have on the Cisco website. That's what I recommend. In fact, I always recommend going to the original source for anything. When I did my CCIE, what did I do? I read the Cisco books, and I read the Internet Engineering Task Force RFCs, and I also read the specs from the IEEE or the specs from the electrical engineering people that actually made some of the specs. That's where I got my sources from. As I also read things from Juniper Networks, but remember, Cisco makes the test. So just read the Cisco Press books. Stay away from anything on Udemy. It will only hurt your career. I need you to go to the source. I need you to get quality information. So it's a very simple exam, the CCNP exams. They're very basic, Algonquin. I mean, to put it into context, before I ever worked in technology, I took a 10-day, $11,000 CCNP boot camp back when it was 4 exams, and all of us in that boot camp passed the CCNP in 11 days. So the point is it's not that complicated, but because passing the certification isn't that big of a deal, but learning something is super special. You know, when you read that book, I don't care if you do the labs, but I care that you understand that if there's some one of those critical things you don't know, go to the Internet Engineering Task Force page and look it up. There's also a tremendous amount of content that's actually out there. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Chris, it is totally fine for you to post it in the chat box. Great idea.
So please ask us your questions. We are definitely here for you. It doesn't matter what we're doing or where we are. We are definitely focused on converting your existing skills into becoming a cloud architect. And it's not as hard or insurmountable as people might assume or believe. We're going to take your pre-existing knowledge, no matter what it is, use it as a foundation and build upwards from there so that you can become a competent, capable cloud architect.
And, Christopher Johnson, my chief operating officer, just messaged me to let everybody know that we have a few slots left for our elite cloud architect program, a very small number of slots. We've got 4 of them left. And this program never goes on sale. It's normally $14,000, but as a bundle, we offered for $7,500, and there's 35% off, and there's 4 slots left. I'm pretty sure they'll get filled by tomorrow, by the end of the day. But if anybody's interested in that elite architect program, my team will pop that link in there. I think they sent an email as well. Take advantage of it while you can. You're never going to get a price like that again for this exact program. Let's go to the next one.
Hey, Mike, I wanted to pop in.
Okay.
It's actually 3 now.
3 slots for it? Okay. So 3 slots
The email went out first, and now it's 3.
Cloud architect program. So take advantage of it while you can before they're probably sold out in the next 24 to 48 hours. Okay, and we can go to the next one. Tyrone, what's next? Because it's possible, Alonzo, and I actually answered them all.
I think we did, Mike.
So I'm going to talk about the CCIE for 5 minutes because Mark actually brought it up in the chat box. And I'll tell you why I still like the CCIE, even though I'm not Mr. Certification. What I like about the Cisco Certified Internet Expert certification, and I want you to always think about this, there's a million or more AWS certified people. And in economics, we have a supply and demand curve. If everybody's certified or everybody can do it, the value is very low. Now, almost nobody can be an architect, and anybody can be an architect, but almost nobody's trained to be an architect. And that's why the companies need them. And there's such an extreme shortage of people that are out there that can do it. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind, that's why architects are there. Because while everybody else is wasting their time, effort, and money on certification, architects are people that can drive business performance and sell and improve an organization. Now, the CCIE is probably the only network engineering certification out there where if you pass it, you usually know networking. And what do I mean by that? It's about 75,000 pages of reading. It costs, at the cheapest you can pass the CCIE is $15,000 at the cheapest. And it's something that, Cisco verifies you and they build something in front of them because it's an engineering exam. That's why it's so great. Because at the end of the day, they've been issuing this exam for 30 years. And basically only 60,000 people have passed it out of the millions and millions and millions and millions of people that have taken it. So when it comes to your career, I'm going to tell you, be rare. Be a rare, beautiful bird. The beautiful bird that can fly, that everybody desires. I speak to employers all the time. And we get VPs of cloud computing companies to us. One director over at AWS came to our class and talked about why he loves our students. Other chief information officers come to our class and talk to our students and talk to us why they want our students. And they say, look, I can find a techie anywhere in the world. But finding a techie that can configure versus someone that can impact my clients, improve their business, develop systems to improve their performance, manage stakeholders, sell, negotiate, and lead teams, that's rare. And those are the skills that are going to get you to your goals. So whatever you do, don't be common, be uncommon, be the best of the best. And that's what we train around here, the best of the best. So I think we have one more from Rena. And ask your questions now. If you have some more, great. If not, Alonzo's in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm going to send him on vacation to go to the beach or something like that. And I'll get back to helping my other clients, but I try to dedicate myself for 2 hours. So we can stick around a little longer if you've got questions.
Rena, good afternoon, Mike. How many carts or certs would you recommend someone to get to start out?
So Rena, we have to be very careful here. So once I see more than 3 certifications, I'm no longer interested in the person. And here's the reason why. All certifications are intro level, including the Cisco Certified Internet Expert. In that once you get them, afterwards, when you get a job, that's when you really start to learn. So I would say 2 to 3. And what I really like is as follows. I like 1 professional cloud certification, like the Azure Solutions Architect Expert or the AWS Solutions Architect Professional. I don't recommend the Google Professional Cloud Architect certification. I've done it. It's no big deal. I don't recommend it because Google doesn't have sufficient market share right now. And the whole reason you're doing a certification is to get an interview. And the whole reason you're doing the training is so you can get hired after you get the interview. So I would say get 1 of them. Now, the next thing that I would tell you is I like to get either a networking data center or a security certification. Why? Because what is the cloud? It's a network and a data center. So the CCNP could be a good certification for people that are inclined to be more interested on the networking side. The CISSP for security is very interesting. Now, I also typically like the TOGAF. Why? Because while an AWS certification teaches you the name of a service and how to configure it, which we don't do, TOGAF is a method that teaches you how to actually approach your client every time. And while the AWS certification is focused on configuring AWS, which architects don't do, TOGAF is focused with how do you drive transformation? How do you improve your client's business? And that's exactly what architects do. So I would say 2 to 3, no more than that. If there's more than that on a resume, I don't want to even talk to the person. And here's why. I want someone that wants to be great as an architect. I want them great. And great as an architect means business skills, leadership skills, sales skills, executive presence, system design knowledge, digital transformation knowledge, stakeholder management skills. And none of them are caught in certifications. So if I see the 10x AWS certified person, first thing I do is question why they would do that to themselves and learn 10 different people's careers, because moving up in your career is if you're great at your career, not somebody else's. So that automatically makes me question if I should even talk to them. And then the second side is I know that person prioritized certifications as opposed to developing architecture skills. And if I'm going to hire somebody, I need somebody that can do the job. So 2 to 3 certifications, no more, no más, any way you want to call it. Without adding more, and I think you're going to be in great shape.
Yeah, it also goes back to what Mike was saying, is be unique. What sets you apart from everyone else who assumes the more certifications, the more value. How do you stand out? And that's where that competency comes in, and that ability to transform and use the tools, the tech, to help build the business. And we never use the business to help push the tech forward. And I believe that's a very bad misconception out there. The tech is built to help facilitate business. So why would you wrap your career around your ability to define what the tool can do? Anyone can do that, but how can you strategize? How can you use the weighted average cost of capital? How can you understand RFPs, RFIs, RFQs? What needs to happen to move this company from here to there? And that's you need thought for that. You need strategy for that. That you're not going to find cookie cutter in a book, because all needs of companies are different. So that's how you can set yourself apart, Rena, as well. And don't put so much stock into it. Put the stock into yourself. You are your certification, and that's your competency.
Rena, would I recommend the cloud practitioner? No. The cloud practitioner, the CompTIA A+ and Net Plus, and the AWS SysOps are the worst certifications in the world. They not only will not help you, in some cases, they will actually hurt your brand by having them on there. There is no fundamentals in the cloud practitioner. They still won't tell you what an EC2 instance is. They'll give you fluff. They won't tell you that it's a virtual machine. They won't give you any knowledge in cloud computing whatsoever, so skip it. In fact, there's a video we have on our YouTube channel about why no one should take the cloud practitioner. And unless they get a free cloud practitioner and then skip the solution architect associate and go straight to the professional. which we do work with some people in the developing world. But otherwise, do not ever waste your time on the cloud practitioner.
No, and this was one of the original conversations that I had with Mike years ago when I took it. It was about 3-4 years ago. And I can honestly say, and this is from an objective perspective, I took it, I studied for it, I leveraged nothing I learned out of it, and it was not applicable to anything valuable to help me to become a cloud architect. So the only way that it's going to be helpful for you with that AWS cloud practitioner is if you're already there, you have a lower tier position, and you're trying to dip your toe into the pool of cloud architecture by understanding a few business services that it has about optimizing monthly costs. It doesn't teach you anything about being a cloud architect. Yeah. Collins, do you take courses in cybersecurity to become a cloud security engineer, or AWS certification is enough?
Collins, I can tell you if you do the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional and the AWS Advanced Security, you will know zero about cybersecurity. And here's the reason I say this, Collins. When it comes to securing your systems, you're not going to use the AWS stuff. You're not going to use the Google stuff, and you're not going to use the Azure stuff. You're going to be using, if it matters as a business, industrial grade security things, which are going to be next generation firewalls from companies like Palo Alto, Fortinet, Checkpoint, or Cisco. There's going to be some intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems. There's going to be data loss prevention systems. There's going to be identity and access management systems that are industrial that you would use, not the AWS kind. There is going to be encryption strategies that you need to talk about. So it's going to be so much more than that's there. So you're going to need to understand cybersecurity. Now, Collins, we have to figure out what kind of cybersecurity you're interested in. So a security architect is a designer. We don't touch the tech, but you said engineer. So Collins, when it comes to engineering, what kind of security engineering would you like to do? And basically there's two approaches. There are the penetration testers, which are people that break into systems so they can tell the companies what's wrong with it, and they get paid to hack. They're called ethical hackers. Now that is really about getting used to Kali Linux tools, learning social engineering, and learning how to hack. By comparison, Collins, there's defensive engineering, which is a completely different skill set, which is based on configuring firewalls and locking down systems. Like, let's say you've got a Linux system. What packages do you remove to harden the operating system? So no, the AWS certification is nothing in the way of doing it. And it doesn't include even 5% of what security is. You're going to need good security training. But Collins, we have to figure out if you want to do defensive security or if you want to do offensive security. And if you can tell me that, I can tell you the things that you might want to learn and even some certifications along the way. But don't count on AWS certifications to teach you networking. The AWS Advanced Networking, interestingly enough, has almost no networking in it. And the AWS Advanced Security has almost no security in it. So no, you're going to need real training and real certification. But you can do it, Collins. I know you can. And you can do it, and you can build a career that you will love. And I don't care where in the world you are, especially as an engineer. So if you want to tell me your goals, I'd like to help you get there, but don't assume that AWS certification will do anything for you.
No, always think if they're offering security, it's for their services, their environment, and it's not applicable in Azure, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, IBM, or anything else, because you cannot use their services in someone else's environment. And then on top of that, from a standardization, it's still not going to be enough to protect AWS 100% in their environment, no matter if you CloudWatch, WAF Advanced, Guard Duty, and all the other associated monitoring and security implementations. It's still not going to be enough. You need robust security. So I just really think it's important that everyone understand, don't put all of your stock and faith in the cloud service providers. They're popular, they're well known, people want to work for them, and that's great, but there are definitely tons of other agnostic products out there by folks who really focus and hone in on security that can really match and beat what they offer out there.
Okay, and actually, Collins, you said you want to do defensive security. So Collins, I'm going to give you a plan. If you want to learn defensive security, the best thing you could do is to get strong cybersecurity training. Now, Collins, if that is not affordable to you, here's what I'm going to recommend you do. And I don't normally recommend CompTIA certifications, and I still don't unless it's the only thing you can afford. So I would say get the CompTIA Security Plus, read it. And if you can't afford a better security certification, and I don't know your finances, but I see that you live in Ghana, West Africa. Actually, one of the people on our team actually just went there the other day to visit. Great place. But, if you're light on cash, I would say take the Security Plus, and I would say read the book from CompTIA. I would then tell you to get all the books for the CISSP certification. And if you can take that certification, I would go do it and I would read it. But if you can't, at least read and truly understand every piece of knowledge that's in that CISSP, because the CompTIA Security Plus is too little. The next thing I would tell you, if you can't get into good cybersecurity training, what I want you to do then is to get yourself a server. I want you to install EVENG on the server. It's about $100. I think it might even be free if you don't need a commercial license on it. And then you can install the Palo Alto software, the Fortinet software, the Checkpoint software on the server, and you can go work with these good firewalls. On the server, you can create virtual machines, and you can get experience. You can make, say, a Microsoft Active Directory server on that server. And on top of that, you could work with virtual firewalls, and you can play with those firewalls, IDS, IPS systems. And you can learn server hardening in that way, and that way you can get hands-on. Architecture is all about learning how to design, present, and sell and optimize business. Engineering is about hands-on, hands-on, hands-on. And that's where people go wrong in architecture. They do hands-on engineering labs, and then they don't know why they don't know how to be an architect. But for you in defensive security, it's good. Now, Cisco Networking Academy has some great training you can do. AWS, go do it, get a certification. It's fine for them, especially if you're going to be looking for remote jobs that works, but make sure you get some good security knowledge after the fact. And truth be told, I would attend every security thing I could that's free from Cisco, from Palo Alto, from Fortinet, and Checkpoint. Checkpoint's got some good training out there too. And I would do as much of that free as I can. I would participate in security environments that are actually out there. I would read the documentation from those big security providers, as well as the SIEM providers, the data loss prevention providers. And if I wanted to be an engineer, I'd get that server and I'd get hands-on, build all those virtual machines, play with those virtual firewalls, and play until you really understand it. And then, Collins, I'll go document it. Now, I wouldn't do with like the, hi, I configured a firewall, document it. I would talk and write about things that you know. How would you secure that demilitarized zone? What does zero trust do versus defense in depth? Those kind of things, and show your strength. Show your original thinking, Collins, and show how awesome you are. And then you'll be great, and you will have a career that you can't even imagine. So, great questions. And Collins, if you want more, let me know, and I'll do anything I can to help you.
From James, anything in addition to TOGAF that is helpful gaining insight skills as an enterprise architect?
Yes, James. The whole point of the enterprise architect is improving an organization's performance. So that means knowledge of business process reengineering. That means knowledge of designing a business architecture. It means the ability to create an ROI model based upon the expected value of an opportunity. It means running financial calculations by looking at an organization's weighted average cost of capital and determine if it's cheaper for them to either lease or buy equipment versus popping them in the cloud. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Those are the skills that are going to be there. The better your presentation skills, the better you are as an architect. The better your ability to exercise influence, the better you are as an architect. The better you are to manage stakeholders, the better you are as an enterprise architect. None of this stuff, by the way, is taught in TOGAF. TOGAF just tells you, hey, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, and it's a stepwise. But it's kind of there. So, James, I'll tell you, and you don't need it, but I'll tell you the MBA I had really helped me a lot when I first started understanding architecture. Now, I teach people, I take the MBA things and I teach them down, but those are the kind of things that are an enterprise architect. An enterprise architect is an executive. They are at the executive C-suite all day long, managing department heads, managing stakeholders, those kind of things. So those are the skills. How do you optimize business? That's really what we're talking about. How do you optimize business? But there's got to be a methodology behind it. Very financial oriented career. And we're the exact opposite of, say, an accountant. An accountant is you spend all this money, you can save money here. A good architect is, we have this technology. This technology can affect your sales process, or it can affect your operations. And by investing XYZ $1 billion in technology, the expected value of the opportunity with an 80% confidence interval is this. And as long as the opportunity, the yield, the value is greater than its cost, your customers buy. But if you can't prove that that $1 billion is worth spending based upon your financial modeling, well, then nobody buys it. And you created beautiful PowerPoint documents, beautiful Word documents, and the architecture dies. So focus on business.
From John, can you provide a similar plan to becoming an offensive security engineer?
John, absolutely. So what does an offensive security engineer do? They hack and they break into systems. So there's two things you have to be good at to be a great hacker. And to be a great hacker, you have to be a good people hacker, and you have to be a great technology hacker. So one of the places where an organization has its weakness, John, is its people. So, how do you talk to someone to give you access to information you don't want? That's called social engineering, John. And to be really good at social engineering, you really should study psychology and sociology. You should also study things and learn from, say, Dr. Robert Cialdini, who talks about persuasion and ethically exercising influence. But you're not going to be ethically exercising influence here. You're going to be learning how to do stuff. So that's the people side of this career. Now, what are you going to be doing in offensive security, John? You're going to be breaking into systems. So again, you're going to need a server. And in that server, you can pop, 6 or 7 virtual machines and build some networks in that server. And then you can download Kali Linux tool and use these tools and use Kali Linux to hack it. So if I wanted to be an offensive security engineer, I would be getting really good at Kali Linux. I would play with every tool from Nmap to everything you could possibly find, and I would try to break into stuff. Now, if I was going to break into stuff, I'd probably also get one certification. And, there's really 2 that matter. When I speak to employers, they like the CEH Master. The CEH Master is a written exam and then a lab. And employers love it because you actually have to prove competency for it. And, it takes a couple $1,000s to pass that certification, the master, and that keeps the average person from doing it. And since there's a lab and a proctor, it makes people that are typically good. There's another one called the Offensive Security Professional. I think it's the OSCP. The security engineers love this, but not the hiring managers. And here's the reason. I don't care what my engineers like. I care about the person who's going to hire me like. So I typically write that off and do the CEH Master. But you got to get hands-on hacking for this career. And how do you do hands-on hacking? You create, you build that Kali Linux system, you get a server, and you just break into stuff and hack all day. Then you try to learn how to manipulate people to get access to things that you don't know. Like I said, I'd read books on psychology, sociology. There's a really good book was written by a hacker called The Art of Deception. I think it was Mitchum, I think was the guy's name that wrote it. But when I took security training many years ago at Cisco, they made us all read it to learn how to do social engineering, to learn how to be able to protect our clients. I would also get really good, and I'd be setting up Active Directory servers to figure it out. I'd start hacking into Windows systems and Linux systems and figure out where their weaknesses are. I would try and hack into S3 buckets and things that you own, not other people's stuff, obviously. And I'd start looking for opportunities to do it. Yeah, it was Kevin Mitnick. It was a really great book, and it was one that was mandatory reading for us at Cisco. When they made every person at Cisco get a CISSP. They said, all you sales engineers, you're all going to get a CISSP. So they brought in basically a boot camp of people, and they trained us from Monday to Friday. And I don't know, I remember taking the exam on the 5th day or the 6th day, and it was done with it, or the next. Because we used to have to take it, I think it was in the weekend on a Saturday, and it was a paper and pencil test. Yeah, go figure. But it was one of those little things where you fill in the Scantron sheets with a number 2 pencil, and then it was done. But even then, we were pretty digitally enabled, but it was still a paper test. Now it's online. You'll be good with those things. But engineering, hands-on, hands-on, hands-on. Architecture, design.
Back to Collins, do you have training programs? If yes, how do I get into it?
Collins, we have many training programs, but all of our training programs are for architects. I made the decision about a year ago not to sell engineering training anymore, and here was the reason. A lot of what engineers do, that coding, that configuring kind of thing, can be done by artificial intelligence. For example, a cloud engineer will write a Python script, but I don't need to know Python to write a Python script. I can do that in ChatGPT. I can do it in Google Bard. I can do it in AWS Code Whisperer. So I'm not going to pay somebody to do it. I can a Terraform script to deploy stuff. I'm not going to pay somebody to do that. I'm going to use artificial intelligence to do it. And I'm going to pay one person instead of the 8 other engineers that can tune and tweak those scripts that are done by artificial intelligence. But architecture by comparison, which we train, and we train a lot of cloud security architects, are designing systems. And since architecture is designing a system and not implementing a system, and to design the architecture, you've got to meet with the company and their executives. You've got to go build a team of people. You've got to go lead a team of people. You got to go document it. You got to deliver presentations. You got to present at conferences. You got to sell. You have to do executive briefings. You have to lead teams. The architect job can never be replaced by artificial intelligence. So, Collins, we have an incredible cloud security architect program. Our students get hired all the time out of it at great companies all over the world. And you could do great with it too, but we teach architecture, not engineering. By the way, as an added bonus, architecture pays at least 2 to 3 times more than the engineering does in most cases with a couple of years experience. So we could train you in architecture. How to get into it? What I would suggest is that you download our completely free How to Get Your First Architect Job guide. I would suggest you come to the webinar tomorrow on how to get your first cloud architect job. We can have a conversation. I can assess what your goals are, and I can get you there. Or you could obviously just buy it from a link. My team will buy the link to our cloud architect training program and pop it in there, and you would just take the security architect focus, and you would do great. But, I want you to be comfortable. I want you to learn as much as possible. I want you to have access to every piece of information so you can make an informed decision. And tomorrow we're going to be on Zoom. It's going to be live. It's going to be free, and it's going to be fun. So hope to see you there. But my team, Tyrone, and Tyrone's over there in Cape Town, South Africa right now. Tyrone, can you pop a link to our Cloud Architect Career Development Program? And Tyrone, make sure that the coupon code or the link to the 35% off is also there as well.
From Abraham, what is the difference in terms of employment and salary between having AWS Solutions Architect Professional versus Architect Associate? Which one would you recommend?
So, Abraham, there will be no difference in your salary based upon either certification. I'm going to tell you right now what determines your actual salary. Your ability to do the job, which is not covered in a certification. Your business acumen has a massive impact, upwards of $300,000 to $500,000 a year, additional onto your architect's training. On top of that, your emotional intelligence typically has about a $30,000 impact to your salary on average job. I think it's $29,600. Now, your communication skills will have a massive impact on your job. Your sales skills will have an incredible impact on your job because there's typically $200,000 to $400,000 difference in some of these jobs. I'll give you some examples in a minute. And your ability to lead teams will have a big impact. And the other thing, Abraham, that's going to affect your salary is your interview skills. Now, this is where most people get it wrong. It upsets me. It horrifies me. Most people focus on certifications and they don't focus on the interview. And here's why it matters so much. I'll show you a couple of jobs. And here's the reason I say it's all dependent upon your business acumen. I'm going to use a business acumen job, a senior director at IBM. Average pay is $399,000 a year. By the way, no certifications for this job, business acumen. And the pay range is $314 to $521. So, that's a business job. Now, I'll give you another business job, then I'll get into some architect jobs. Here's another job, senior director at Palo Alto. So $540,000 is the average salary with a pay range of $425 to $709. What is that difference? Well, your business ability, your sales ability is what's doing that. Here's an architect role at Google. They're not hiring you based on certifications. They're hiring you based on your digital transformation knowledge. Base average pay, $508. This is straight from Glassdoor. plus or minus $50,000. These things go up and down constantly. But the pay range is $394 to $677. Whoa, that's $300,000 difference. How about a principal architect at Microsoft? And I was a principal architect in 2 years, and with the right training, so could you. Average pay is $379,000 with a pay range of $300 to $495. Again, you can get these straight off a Glassdoor. Amazon principal architect, $372 on average with a pay range of $291 to $491. So what is it that's causing that additional $200,000 to $300,000 with all these jobs? It's not your certifications. I asked thousands of hiring managers, do they care about certifications? And they laughed. They're like, I don't care about certifications. I care about people's ability to do the job, the ability to sell, the ability to lead, the ability to present, the ability to build teams, the ability to influence our clients. So no difference in certification, but I gave you the skills and the knowledge sets to boost your salary by several $100,000 a year. Boost your business acumen, boost your sales ability, boost your ability to exercise influence, boost your ability to lead, boost your emotional intelligence, and you're going to earn hundreds of thousands of dollars. And while everybody else is focused on their certifications and complaining they can't get a job and complaining they can't earn enough to support their family, you focus on business acumen and leadership, and you add a couple $100,000 a year. So even if it's only $100,000 a year raise over the course of 30 years, that's $3 million. So focus on the high value targets. That's the secret to earning more. That's the secret to getting any job you want. And that's the secret to having a life of your dreams. And if you're like me, an immigrant, where my family is from Greece, where people don't have money, it's really nice to have a job where you can send money back home and take care of your family and create a legacy for yourself. But that's really the key of what we're trying to talk about.
From John O. Is there a substantial salary gap between an enterprise architect and a security?
Yeah, John, not in the beginning of your career, but in the end of your career, it'll be massive. There are a lot of chief architect jobs that pay $800,000 to $1.2 million a year. Security architect jobs are going to max out around $350 or $400 max. So the closer you are to the business, the more you will earn. The closer you are to the tech, the less you will earn. I wish it wasn't true. It's sad that the CCIE network engineer that's working 16-hour days will get paid a third of the network architect that couldn't even do half of the things that the network engineer can do. But the closer you get to the business, the better you'll be. The closer you are to the business, the closer you are to the chief information officer role and the chief technology officer role. The closer you are as the tech, the more they see you as a techie. And the more they see you as a techie, the less they're willing to pay you. And John, this is the saddest thing. This actually makes me sick. When I was a real techie architect in my youth, I was treated like the help. And then I actually saw what people did, and I had a manager. It was close to 25 years ago. And John, my manager, I had a CCIE, I was doing a CISSP, I had the CCDP, and I was like, hi, manager, what kind of cool new certification? Should I do a second CCIE or should I do a CCDE? And my manager basically said, come talk to me. And my manager said, Mike, and this is 25 years ago, he said, would you like to know the difference between a $150,000 sales engineer like you and a $300,000 architect? And I was like, yeah, I need to know this. 25 years ago, that was huge money. Today, it's still good money. And he said, look, he says, you've got enough technical competency. It doesn't matter anymore. He said, but if you want to get to the top, it's about the changes you can make for your clients. How much can you impact your clients? My manager said, right now, you're one of the best network people I've ever met in my entire life. He said, but guess what? I see you as the network guy. I'm like, yeah. He said, I don't see you as the guy that I'm going to go send into the world's largest bank. How are you going to talk to them about how they can increase their revenue by 2% by using tech? He said, but if you could do that, you could have any job you want. And then my manager said to me, to really boost your salary and double it, I need you to focus on your leadership skills. I need you to focus on your ability to exercise influence. I need you to focus on sales. He said, because no matter how good your designs are, Mike, if the client doesn't buy them, they're done. He said, I would like you to focus on your business acumen. And he said, would you like to go to leadership training, management training, and business training? Would you like me to pay for your MBA? And I said, woohoo, yes. He did that. A year and a half later, I had that big job that he was talking about. But that was the key. You have to remember, if you love the tech, and it's fine to love the tech, you'll be a techie. If you love the business, you'll be at the top. Ask yourself, who earns more, a CEO or a techie? A chief information officer or a techie? Here's the scarier thing. Look at an engineer, a sales engineer that knows all this stuff, that earns 150. And the global account manager that's partnered with the engineer that knows nothing about how this stuff works at all, that's tasked with selling it, earns $400,000 a year. So I love architecture because it's that hybrid. I can still be excited about the tech, and I am. And I can still be excited about making my clients' business better. And that's why I love this role, because it's a role of boosting performance. And I'm all about boosting performance, whether it was bringing a performance coach like I had yesterday on, but it's all about boosting performance. The better you can make your clients, the better you will do. But John, it's in all businesses. Imagine a financial advisor that's so good, they can get their clients a 16% return on investment on an annualized basis, which nobody can. But if they could, everybody would go to them and they'd be earning millions and millions of dollars a year. Compare that to the financial advisor that listens to what's on the squawk box and says, okay, this is what I'm going to sell, because that's what they were told by their customers. That person is a low paid person. So it's all about what can you do for your clients, what kind of return on investment can you yield for your clients that determines it. I know in my world, my focus is my clients. My focus is on getting my clients hired. My focus is on improving their salaries, and improving their career opportunities for the rest of their lives. In my architect days, my life was, how do I make my clients more successful? Once I got off of the techie position, the opportunities came, the salary came, the vacations came, and life got real good. So you have to do what you love, John. If you really love that tech, stay on the tech. If you're looking for the maximum opportunity in your life, focus on the business. But there's no magic pill here. You got to do what makes you happy. I can tell you from personal experience, a job that you hate will make you miserable. Believe me, I've done them. I had a job on Wall Street that was so good. I mean, it was great. It paid me more than I ever dreamed possible. If we worked until 6 o'clock, we could take a stretch limousine home. So around 5:30 every day, everybody went and got a drink and then took the limousine service home. I mean, this was a great job, right? But I had to go from my house in Princeton, New Jersey, basically to New York City, and it was 2.5 hours of traffic every single day. And I hated that commute so badly that it didn't matter how much they were willing to pay me. It made me miserable. So choose happiness, John, because we spend a lot of our time at work. But if you like them equally well like me, choose business, not tech. But do what's going to make you happy. And John, you're going to do good no matter what you do. Okay, so I hope we were able to help you in your cloud computing career, because I want to see everybody have the best career that they could possibly imagine. You can see Alonzo over there, and he's got the same perspective as me. Alonzo loves helping people. Alonzo came to us. He took everybody else's ridiculous training. Then we trained him and got him hired. He had a great job. And I begged him to come work for me. Pretty much I called him and said, what can I do to get you to join me here, Alonzo? Because he, like me, is incredibly passionate about when people get hired. He and I both have a happy dance. Alonzo's is better than mine. I got a really bad foot from a martial arts injury. But we have it every time we get somebody hired, and we love it. So go out there and build the career of your dreams. Don't listen to anybody telling you what you can't do. You can do anything you want. And sadly, and it's so upsetting to me, more people's careers and dreams were destroyed by people that were given bad advice. You can achieve anything you want. I'm telling you right now. Want to be a physician? Go to medical school. Want to be an airplane pilot? Go learn to fly. Want to be a cat herder? Go get yourself a bunch of cats and get some cat herding training. The point is you can do it all. So, and there's that. Collins, you register for the Zoom webinar? Join and ask your questions. We'll ask your questions. Alonzo and I, or maybe me, if Alonzo's over there in Jamaica having a good time eating some jerk chicken and maybe some bammy or some cod and ackee, saltfish and ackee with some red stripe beer. So Alonzo's going to be having a good time. Everybody knows I love anything Ethiopian or Jamaican. Actually, I like anything from all over the world, but those two parts of the world, I have lots of fun. But they're there. So take care, everyone. I hope you had a great day. And come join us tomorrow on the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar and download that free guide. Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining us.